Biden's latest taxpayer-funded infrastructure boondoggle has just been revealed. 3 years ago, the president started bragging about spending billions to wire every inch of America with better internet.
Making high-speed internet affordable and available everywhere in America.
It's going to make high-speed internet a reality in every part of the country.
High-speed internet all across America. We're on the way to delivering affordable high-speed internet to every American. Affordable high-speed internet all across America, installed by IBEW workers.
$43 billion later, and not a single person has gotten better internet. Not one home, not one business. It hasn't been installed anywhere. And now they're saying it won't happen until 2030, when Trump will be serving his third term. Dictator for life, remember? So what happened? The program's being hamstrung by regulations about climate change, DEI, and justice-impacted hires. I'm not sure rural Idaho has enough Trans-Pacific Islander ex-cons with electrical engineering degrees ready to rewire their digital infrastructure. And while the government continues to drag its feet after writing a fat check with our tax dollars, they're also shutting down the private sector that's trying to do the same thing at a fraction of the price. The Biden team continues denying Elon Musk's proposal to connect Americans with his Starlink satellites. So now Musk is connecting remote tribes in the Amazon to the internet, and Biden can't even get a new router to a family in Nebraska. Host of Mornings with Maria Borderomo joins me now. Maria, it's a big promise. Biden's promised to cure cancer. He's promised to lower the world's temperature.
That's right.
No internet. $43 billion later. What happened?
Jesse, this is just the latest DEI disaster. And basically what happened was they get the money from Congress. They say they have all of these promises to deploy the internet and broadband. But before doing that, they jammed through a whole host of new rules and regulations. Let me tell you about some of those rules and regulations, Jesse. Some of them notable requirements: DEI quotas, implementing the climate impact plans. Make sure you have a climate action plan. Prioritize the hiring of convicted criminals. There were not a lot of takers on that one. So the bottom line is, business needs consistency. Business needs to know the rules of the road in order to grow. Business wants to grow. To grow, you need to understand the backdrop, understand the rules, and not have all these new rules as surprises. And that's what happens.
So you have to find in rural America a convicted criminal who has been impacted by the climate and is also a minority in rural America.
That's right. And they also want to re-regulate the rates. They say, look, you're saying that it costs this, but we think it costs less. So that's another issue for business. They're saying, we're not getting the revenue that we thought because you're questioning our rates. They have all of these businesses resubmitting plans until they get new approval. So again,
it's never
why
going to
are
happen.
businesses going to go through all of this?
And they did the same thing with the charging stations. It was $7 billion. They got $8 billion. When you hear about the cheap fake task force, that Biden's going to be working with the media to suppress videos of him looking old.
Yeah.
Does that scare you?
It does scare me, and I think that this is right in step with the Democrat strategy. Create a whole nother conversation so we all start talking about cheap fakes.
Right.
Let's talk about fake stuff, and let's talk about cheap fakes and how the AI situation is changing our world. It has nothing to do with that. Joe Biden has been wandering off stage left umpteen times. Georgia Maloney had to pull him back. Obama. I think Obama putting his hand on Joe Biden was a message. Obama's telling everyone, I'm in charge. I'm going to take him off stage right now. I thought that was just spoke volume.
He big-timed him. He didn't have to do that.
He did not have to hold it the whole time.
For the President of the United States to bask in the applause and leave on his own recognizance. He doesn't need to grab him and pull him away and then put his arm around him.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people believe Obama has been calling the shots the whole time.
Well, who is, Jesse? Come on. Is it the guy who's wandering around? Is it the guy who forgot Alejandro Mayorkas' name the other day?
Yeah. That was not a deep fake.
And that wasn't a deep fake.
No, it was not. All right, Maria, you have a big Fox Nation special. Underwriting the Enemy. What's that?
You're going to love this special. This is about all of the companies that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ that are tied to the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh, great.
So what are we doing? We've got all of these Chinese companies that are tied to the CCP trading on our exchanges, in effect, American investors are funding the expansion of our number one enemy.
Okay.
This is what's happening. So why won't this administration pull the capital markets lever and actually hold these companies to account? Do you know back in 2013, the administration, when Joe Biden was vice president, they signed a memorandum of understanding that allowed thousands of Chinese companies to trade on our exchanges and not follow the same accounting standards that every other public company follows. They don't follow the same rules. Since then, there has been a promise to follow those rules. I haven't seen it implemented yet. But all of these companies are traded on exchanges. Investors are investing in them, and that is funding the expansion of our number one adversary. And they don't even follow the rules. So you really don't know if that company that you're invested in is actually subsidized by the CCP.
I wonder if all that Chinese money that went into the Biden family's coffers had anything to do with his treatment with the Chinese.
We're questioning it.
Just a question.
It's just a question.
All right, Maria, thank you so much.
You.
We'll check it out on Fox Nation.
Great.
Illegal aliens and the cartel gold rush. Straight ahead. This week, Biden gave amnesty to 500,000 illegals and said it's going to make us all rich. Biden wants to give his 10 million migrants your job so he can say he saved the economy. Mayorkas agrees.
So many have contributed so significantly to the well-being of our country in terms of local communities, our national economy. We need people who are willing to work hard, to serve on the front lines, like so many of the dreamers have done for so many years.
There are only two groups of people making money off migrants, Biden's donors and the cartel. Biden pretended he shut down the border with some phony executive order, and the smugglers are laughing all the way to the bank. Watch.
Smugglers are boasting nothing at the border has changed. This smuggler advertising on WhatsApp his menu of available routes for migrants to cross illegally into the U.S.
It's a gold rush for the cartels. They're getting filthy rich by hand-delivering criminals into our country. And when we report on migrant crime, like an illegal raping a 13-year-old, MSNBC says we're fear-mongering.
Here's the three cable networks reporting of this. Was our banner said, soon Biden announces legal protections for undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens. CNN's banner said, Biden announces new protections for some undocumented spouses. Here was Fox's banner. Migrant arrested for raping 13-year-old New York City.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of the problem, right?
Exactly.
Is that you have
That's
a lot
part
of
the
fear-mongering.
Exactly.
And the problem, if Fox hadn't covered the rape when the illegal was on the lam, those good Samaritans wouldn't have been alerted and apprehended him. Does Joy Reid want guys like this in her city?
He approached the young couple, two 13-year-old kids, tied them up, put a gag in their mouth, raped the young woman, and asked them to stay there for 20 minutes while he, I guess, left.
News anchors do a public service when we report criminal activity, especially when that criminal activity is the result of dangerous policies that informed voters can change in a democracy. Just because sanctuary cities don't report migrant crime, we still see it all the time. Things didn't used to be this way. Trump grew up near the park where the girl was attacked.
You know that area in Queens? I said that's where I grew up. I grew up right near that area. It was unthinkable. My parents, I'd go to the park. It was like 20 blocks away. I'd take a bicycle ride there. Nobody thought anything was going to happen. I did that for years. Played baseball and different things in the park. And you'd ride and you'd come back home. Mother would say, "Hi, darling, would you like something to eat?" Today, if you let your kid out of the house for 5 minutes, the kid is gone.
Laken Riley in Georgia, Rachel Morin in Maryland, and now this 13-year-old girl in Queens. The long list of migrant crime victims is growing by the day. Fox isn't causing fear. Joe Biden is. Anthony Rubin's the founder of muckraker.com. Anthony, they're now saying we need open borders for the money.
Right. Well, it's all propaganda with these people. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all to hide the truth. I mean, the truth is that this is a agenda. This is Agenda 2030. This is part of a larger framework to usher in millions upon millions of people into the United States for political reasons, to permanently change the demographics of America and, have a permanent underclass and a Democrat majority for the rest of American history.
And they're saying it's just the cost of doing business when a teen's raped. First they said there was no such thing as migrant crime, and now they say, oh, well, there is, but you can't report it because if you do, you're a fearmonger.
Right. Again, total propaganda. I've been down to the border. I've taken the whole caravan trail, as you know, and the types of men that you see along these routes, very unfriendly people from countries all over the world, all tatted up. Clearly some people that are not tatted up and have nefarious intent hiding their face. I can only imagine who's in this country. It's truly terrifying.
It is terrifying. Also, we have, I believe, 85,000 migrant kids Biden lost. No idea where they went. Totally gone. I know you're working on an investigation of this issue. Here's a little clip. Watch.
Okay, so right now we are looking for some of the 85,000 unaccompanied alien children that have gone missing under the Biden administration. This is one of thousands of addresses that we have been provided by a government insider. Allegedly, 2 children were delivered to a sponsor that lives at this address. But as you can see, nobody lives here, and honestly, it doesn't look like anybody's lived here in quite a long time.
That's scary. What the hell's going on there?
Right, so we were given a list of about 8,500 names of children who were delivered all across the country as part of the unaccompanied alien children program under the Biden administration. And we have the names and the addresses where these children were delivered to. And so we went out in New York and we started knocking on some doors. That particular house, as you can see, has been long abandoned. Nobody's there. Nobody knows where the kids who were delivered there are now. And there were plenty of other places that we visited, the projects in Brooklyn, in Wyandanch, in Queens. Places where, you couldn't even imagine children being sent there, where we knocked on the door and they told us horror stories. Some of these children told us stories about how their friends have gone missing. Their friends were crying to them when they were being held in these compounds before they were sent to their sponsor, crying, saying, I don't know where I'm going to be delivered. I don't know where I'm going. And then some children told us that there are children in these facilities who say, listen, I just want to go home. Send me back to Honduras or El Salvador. And the Biden administration, under current policy, says, absolutely not. You're with us now and you're being sent to a sponsor, even if that sponsor is unknown.
It's the scariest thing ever. I can't even imagine what that's like for those children. This is a human trafficking operation. How complicit is our government in this?
If it wasn't for the policies of the Biden administration, many of these children could be sent back home. A lot of this would be non-existent. But, of course, the fact that we have a wide open border is the cause of all this. So if you want to nip this at the bud, you have to close down the border. But so long as it remains open, they'll continue to talk about Trump putting children in cages. But right now what's going on is a massive, perhaps the biggest child trafficking operation in the history of the world. It's that massive.
In the history of the world. Think about that. That is just crazy. Anthony, great work at Muckraker. We'll stay on it. Thanks for coming on. Inside LA's luxury homeless high-rise. LA homeless are about to live like kings and queens. The city celebrated the grand opening of a luxury high-rise building that will serve as a homeless shelter. Each unit, just a mere $600,000. The entire building, just $165 million. The best part, it was all funded by LA taxpayers. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman with more. Christina.
Hi, Jesse. Today was the grand opening of a high-rise building in downtown LA that will offer subsidized housing to some of the people living homeless on Skid Row. The 19-story, 278-unit permanent support housing project is the largest of its kind here in Los Angeles. It includes 40 units reserved for homeless veterans. The total bill for the complex is $165 million. That breaks down to about $600,000 per unit in taxpayer funds. mostly for studio apartments like this one, featuring basic furnishing, including a bed, table, and chairs. The LA Times reports developers wanted to create a space on Skid Row that wouldn't make the formerly homeless people feel like they were still living among squalor. So they added spaces like a gym stocked with treadmills and weights, a room for arts and music where outside groups will put on classes, and 6 communal balconies like this one that will offer a much more uplifting view than what you might see outside of a window of a shelter. Billions of dollars have been spent on public initiatives in California to deal with this state's out of control homelessness crisis. In 2016, LA voters overwhelmingly passed a proposition allowing for $1.2 billion in bonds aimed at housing homeless people. The new high-rise was funded by that appropriation and state tax credits. Now, this is the first of 3 towers set to house the homeless here in LA. The second building is scheduled to open a year and a half from now. Jesse?
Christina, that homeless high-rise is nicer than my first 3 apartments.
That's crazy.
Crazy. I'll see you later.